All right, everyone, hello and welcome to the Gala celebration of the 70th anniversary of the National Association for Armenian Studies and Research, NAASR. I'm Thomas Msarian-Dolan. I'm faculty in Middle Eastern and South Asian Studies at Emory, though I'm currently writing an institutional history of the AGBU and consulting with LA County's anti-racism, thank you, diversity and inclusion initiative. I'm very, very pleased to be your co-host tonight, along with Nora Lesserson.
Hello, everybody. I am Nora Lesserson. I'm a lecturer in history at the University of Southern California, their new campus in Washington, D.C. So if you are in USC in the audience, please come find me. My undergraduate years, however, and many of my graduate student years were spent here in the area around the corner from NAASR at Harvard. It was here in the Boston area where I studied both religion and Middle Eastern studies, that I learned more about my own Armenian family past and began an academic career in Armenian American history. I went on to write articles about my great-grandfather, Hovhannes Chirishian, a genocide survivor from Marash, and I'm now writing a book about one of the first Armenian Americans, Christopher Oskanyan. Over the course of our careers thus far, Thomas and I have both benefited from NAASR.
I can personally say that NAASR has been an integral part of my academic journey by supporting conference travel, research travel on projects related to Kalus Gulbenkian, Armenians and state curricula standards, and American racisms. I've been so grateful that NAASR has welcomed me as someone coming a little bit out of left fields to Armenian studies, particularly coming from diaspora studies, American studies, ethnic studies. And it's a testament to NAASR and Mark's vision that they treat Armenian studies as such a vibrant and truly interdisciplinary field and program that shows just how much other fields can learn from Armenian studies and just how much Armenian studies can learn from other fields.
For my part, I've been coming to NAASR since I was a master's student in the area. Walking into that old building felt like entering a kind of combination church basement, library, and so it immediately felt like a home. NAASR invited me to give my first talk ever, and later my first talk after having my son. I have attended multiple conferences hosted and sponsored by NAASR, and I have also received NAASR grants to support my research, most recently to support an international conference I'm co-organizing, which will be sponsored and hosted by NAASR this time next year. The topic is Armenian American biography. Thomas, please submit a paper, and everyone here, please do attend. To put it simply, NAASR has made my career possible. It has helped me connect to the past, to my family history, and to build out a professional future that is both intellectually and emotionally meaningful. I could not be more grateful.
70 years ago, the founders of NAASR came together to build the future of Armenian studies by establishing the first permanent endowed chairs in Armenian studies in America. Tonight, we celebrate this history and all that has been accomplished since, honoring the legacy of those who built NAASR and the vision of those who sustain it today. While we look to the future that we will build together, we want to ensure that Armenian stories are carried forward and celebrated. And we thank all of you who have given to ensure that NAASR is able to do this vital work, and in particular, the generous Gala sponsors who are listed in your booklet.
To begin, we invite the Very Reverend Father Hrant Hanyan to begin, of St. Stephen's Armenian Apostolic Church of Watertown, Massachusetts, to offer a prayer.
I was asked to also say a few words before blessing the table. A statement, dear friends, that is often repeated. No individual is irreplaceable. As scientists, researchers, clergy, we can wholeheartedly agree with this profound truth. But at the same time, the same cannot be said of crucial institutions, or more precisely, the mission behind crucial institutions. Since its inception, NAASR has been entrusted with a critical role within the Armenian reality. As you are all aware, there's only one Armenian university in the diaspora, and there's only one NAASR. And so we can attest that it is indeed irreplaceable. As I will bless our meal in Armenian, we will also all ask God and the architect of wisdom and knowledge to bless NAASR as it journeys on the next 30 years of its critical mission. Վարձկերնիդ կադար եւ հազար աբրիկ։ Օրտնեսցի ըստ սեղանս եւ սեղանագիցս անվան փոր եւ որդվո եւ հոգվույն սրբո ջաշագեսցու խաղաղությամբ զգերագուրս որ բարգեւյալ է մեզիդյարն է օրտնյալ է դեր եւ ի բարգեւս յուր ամեն Փարիախորժակ bon appétit. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father Haran. As we continue, yes, please continue to eat your salads on the table before you as we continue.
No, I'm supposed to introduce Sharon though, right?
Huh?
I've introduced Sharon now, don't I?
I guess so,
I think
yeah.
so. Yeah. While you eat, we would like you to ask you to welcome Dr. Sharon Chakijan, who with Margaret Magrublian serves as the co-chair of the NAASR 70th Anniversary Gala Committee. I'm not done introducing you.
Okay.
I had the pleasure of introducing Sharon, meeting Sharon a couple weeks ago for the first time at another school down the coast. And she's very modest, but she's also newly appointed as the Chair of Emergency Medicine at the National Institute of Health of the Republic of Armenia.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the 70th Anniversary Gala for NAASR here at the beautiful Fairmont Copley Hotel. I'm Sharon Chakijan, as Tom just said, and I have the distinct honor of being the Gala co-chair along with Margaret Magrublian from Los Angeles, the incomparable Margaret. We're here in Boston to celebrate both the past and the future of NAASR, and it's more than just a local organization, as you can see, even more so post-COVID in our virtually connected world. NAASR has created a community, and no matter where you are globally, NAASR is there for you. It's done so for the last 70 years, and thanks to your generosity, it will continue to do so in the future. As you know, NAASR means a lot to my family, and we can tell by your generosity and sponsorship that it means a lot to you too. And please, if we could give a round of applause for all of our sponsors tonight. I'd like to thank the board and the executive committee, and of course the Gala committee for all their work, including Nancy and Joan Kaligian, Huri Boyamian, Phyllis Dohanyan, Mark Mamagonian, and Ara Aras for all their hard work. A very special thanks as well to our Gala committee members, Brian Onspigian, our treasurer and man extraordinaire, who will be joining us tonight at the after party, which I'll talk about, and to Monique Balayan, who just newly relocated from the UAE and who has joined our community, Girard's wife. And she actually went several times each week for the last few weeks to check your responses, your donations, driving an hour each way. So thank you, Monique. A word about the evening. First, a big round of applause for the John Baboyan Trio who entertained us during the cocktail hour. We have a really great program for you, including a talk by Dr. Anthony Marks from the New York Public Library, which we're very excited about. And we have a wonderful video to share with you. At the end of the evening, I'm going to invite you all back up the stairs for an after party. Please join us. We're going to have cake, cognac, and we have a special, almost all Aznavour tribute by the La Vie en Rose band. Please join us. I know everybody likes to talk, and so I thought that would be a nice way just to get back together again. Everybody, please enjoy your evenings. We'll try and keep all of our talking to a minimum so you can enjoy each other. And thank you all for making it out and for your generous sponsorship again. And Harametzek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are.
And now I'd like to bring to the stage Ara Araz, who is the NAASR board chairperson and a friend with whom I've traveled to Armenia and been privileged to work on several projects, including a recent volume on the 44-day war. Ara?
Thank you, everyone. Pariya Gadzek. Good evening. Hokeshonor Har Surp, Ajan Batviv Batvaliներ, Շատ ուրախ ենք. Dearest friends and supporters, Honoree Pamela Wood Avedisyan, Yervan Chekidyan, our keynote speaker, Dr. Anthony Marks from the spectacular New York Public Library, our distinguished honorees, and our wonderful partners from academia. On behalf of NAASR's Board of Directors, thank you for being with us at your and our 70th anniversary celebration. Tonight we celebrate, thank you. Tonight we celebrate 7 decades of scholarship, generosity, and community building, and the ambitious vision that has carried NAASR from a bold idea in 1955 to the robust organization that we all know now. The inspiring Vartan Grigoryan building is a more recent testament to that enduring spirit. It stands today as a sacred repository of nearly 40,000 volumes in our Mardigyan library. It's a convening place for scholars from around the world and students across town. And it is the headquarters from where we collaborate with Armenian studies programs and libraries across this country, across the globe, and in the homeland. And for this, we are indebted to many people, but we are especially indebted to Mark Mamigonyan and Ali Babayan. Thank you. And even though our building is relatively young, we've embraced a philosophy of proactive stewardship to ensure for its protection and care. Under the leadership of our far-sighted, very special treasurer, Brian Anspikyan, who's the youngest member of our board, by the way, I'm pretty certain, and is a treasurer himself, we've learned that over the next 50 years, we will have to spend more than $2 million in building replacements and improvements. And this long-term need required a permanent solution. So tonight, it gives me great pleasure to announce the creation of the Edward and Pamela Avedisyan Building Endowment Fund. This mission-liberating gift ensures that we'll never divert resources from our programming or rely on crisis fundraising to care for our building. With this endowment, NAASR can focus fully on its bold initiatives, new partnerships, and the expansion of our mission. Looking ahead, endowments give NAASR the courage to scale up, invest in talent, innovate, and endure. It is the fiscal foundation that allows us to be ambitious, to plan boldly, and amplify support for scholars working in increasingly contested spaces. Endowments ensure that Armenian studies are present at the intersection of diaspora studies, American studies, gender studies, art history, musicology, literary studies, conflict studies, reparations, legal studies, human rights, linguistics, memory studies, political science, environmental studies, post-colonial studies, and comparative genocide. And in this, we stand in solidarity with the victims in Gaza and with genocide and Holocaust scholars and survivors everywhere who speak truth to power in an increasingly polarized environment. Without doubt, there is much to be done. And for that reason, we're also creating dedicated endowments for grant making, lasting resources to grow, sustain, multiply the impact of the scholarship we value. And tonight, I'm also proud to announce the creation of the Khoren and Shushanik Avedisyan Scholar Endowment Fund. This will nearly double NAASR's grant-giving capacity and the stellar work of our Educational Advisory Committee. Thank you, Pamela. When planning began for this gala, our NAASR's endowment stood at $3.6 million. Thanks to Pamela's generosity, transformative generosity, And all of you in this room today, those who've supported our sponsorships, we now stand at $6.7 million. And tonight, we launch a campaign to reach 10 million by our 75th anniversary. And it's a goal that we can now achieve and one that we can exceed. We especially hope to endow our key positions. Imagine endowing and naming the Director of Academic Affairs in your name or the name of a loved one, and ensuring that its central role and your legacy are sustained in perpetuity. At the same time, such a generous act would allow us to direct resources to innovative programming, hiring more specialists, securing new collections for the Mardigyan Library, accelerate preservation and digitization efforts, and advance many of our strategic threads. NAASR's strength has always come from community, from people who believe in that ideas matter, scholarship endures, and that a living and evolving heritage is a gift to be safeguarded, studied, personalized, and shared across generations. And community is not only about generosity, it's also about governance, it's about accountability, and it's a foundational principle enshrined and reaffirmed in our bylaws and our other governing documents. Our annual assembly will convene on November 8th, and all are welcome to attend. It is NAASR's highest governing body, and the minimum contribution is a fraction of tonight's tickets. So if you're not yet a member, please visit naasr.org, speak to a board member, because by design, this is your NAASR, this is this community's NAASR, and if you're already a member, please consider joining the leadership circle or augmenting your presence there. Thank you for being here to celebrate. Thank you for being part of this shared and necessarily bold and increasingly bold journey. Like the 59 community members that signed the Articles of Incorporation of NAASR in 1955, we will work fiercely to expand the limits of what is possible, and we'll do that by delivering and supporting insightful programming and amplifying the essential work of those in this room and across the world. Work that allows, thank you, and work that allows the truth to breathe a little freer and the Armenian experience and identity to shine across the globe. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Ara. Next, we have Dr. Henry Theriault, is the Vice Chairperson of the NAASR Board, Associate Provost at Worcester State University, and two-time past President of the International Association of Genocide Scholars. He was also a founding editor of Genocide Studies International, who has written on the UN response to genocide and drafted principled IAGS statements on Artsakh and Gaza, taking a critical stand in a world that, as we know, too often turns a blind eye to suffering.
Thank you all for being here. It's really an honor to stand before you, and we could have picked anyone from any table here to be up here as well to talk about the impact of NAASR, the importance of it. I'll try to give you a couple things and hopefully teach you a little bit about NAASR as well. One of the things I have to start with is we've been planning this gala for quite a while. It doesn't happen overnight, and the people who really put the work in, again, Sharon and others, it's incredible, so thank you. I just realized something this week that was equally as wonderful as it is depressing. This is the 70th anniversary of NAASR, and I have been part of NAASR for half of its lifetime. I was going to make a joke, oh, I must have been in diapers, but I can't pull that off anymore, you know, maybe 15 years ago. But it has been so integral to my life, and I want to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about what we're trying to do for the next 70 years, and I will say even 700 years of NAASR. Being part of NAASR has never just been about coming to the bookstore or lectures, though both were revelations to me because I grew up in a non-Armenian community, far from Armenians, barely any interaction with Armenian things. And also the bookstore discount was great when I was a student. That really helped a lot. It was about meeting Hagop Hachikian way back in the NAASR library to get Western Armenian tutoring lessons and help with struggles I was having against a very aggressive Turkish student organization at UMass Amherst around denial of the genocide. It was about the 1992 Annual Assembly of Members at which Richard Fry, everyone will remember him from Harvard University, spoke and actually in his talk gave me the topic of my own dissertation, which was great. Not the dissertation wasn't great, it was great that I got that idea from NAASR, by the way. It was about spending a day with just 7 other students in a seminar led by Vahakan Dadrian and Roger Smith in 1994, having them teach me and the other students about the Armenian genocide and its denial, 2 of the world's experts, obviously. That day, I actually established a connection with Roger that not only led to a lifelong friendship and work over the years, but 5 years later led to me being encouraged by him to apply, a very tentative person, to apply to speak or to present at an International Association of Genocide Scholars conference, which itself led me eventually to become the first Armenian and only Armenian president of the organization some years later. And there's a personal side as well. For instance, it meant bringing my just old enough 2 kids 15 years later to see their aunt give a talk on her book on Arshil Gorky and the Armenian genocide, a memory that 3 generations of my family to this day treasure. It meant the absolute high point of my career, and Mark has always laughed at when I say this, but it is very true, when in 2023, I got invited to speak at the NAASR Annual Assembly of Members, 31 years after seeing Richard Fry speak. It meant much more than that, but one of the final things it meant to me was seeing Richard Ovanessian give his last lecture at NAASR, which was a always incredible event and has stuck with me quite a bit. Any positive impacts I've made in my career are not a reflection of anything about me, but rather are because of the community of scholars, concerned Armenians, and others around me, encouraging me, giving me opportunities, teaching me, correcting me again, not letting me off the hook on things, and supporting me in every way. And NAASR has always been at the center of that community. It is really the global nexus of Armenian studies, the core that binds everything together, from the Mata Nadaran to every university around the world and so forth. It is not just about studying Armenian culture, politics, technology, and more. It is the engine of never-ending renewal of Armenian identity despite the profound challenges of the past and the present. NAASR is the institution I could always take for granted, that would always be there, the ever-present foundation, the creative, identity-affirming force that has actually been more powerful than the destructive impact of the waves of genocide Armenians have experienced. Given all I've said, it's presumably no surprise that I'm going to say now that we need another 70 years of NAASR. In fact, we need another 700 years of NAASR. I'm going to say to NAASR, I hope I speak for all of us when I say we want Armenian identity not just to survive, but to thrive in a vibrant way. And it's NAASR that's one of the key ways we can make sure that happens. And I really think future generations deserve the institution that has been so much had so much of a great impact on me and other scholars and other people in our community. When I was asked 2 years ago about running for the board of directors, I thought this is a great way to look like I'm giving back in a way that will not be that much of a commitment. It'll be really easy. Why? Because NAASR was doing everything so well already. It had a great community of donors and volunteers and staff who were so dedicated. And I thought, all I have to do is not mess anything up. I probably have messed things up, but we'll talk about that. But I was really wrong. I soon realized, as much as NAASR had achieved in its 68 years before, everyone involved was doing the opposite of slowing down. the conversations were all about what great new things can NAASR do next? What are the challenges facing Armenians, Armenian identity, the Armenian world that NAASR can help meet? And the ideas came. Projects like something that we're hoping to kick off in the next year or two, an Armenian Studies summer university program for credit that will allow graduate and undergraduate students to be taught by the greatest experts in Armenian studies in every area. And by the way, they're here tonight, so I'm going to be hitting you up later to get involved with this. And if you think about what an experience this type of thing will be, think about not the student who's at UCLA or Tufts or someplace with a great access to Armenian professors and so forth, but somebody stuck like I was in the middle of nowhere growing up without anything Armenian in my environment. Think about what it would mean to come for a summer and discover the Armenian studies world. That could be really cultivating the future of Armenian studies for us, giving a chance to people who would never have thought about being in Armenian studies in any other context, as Armenians or non-Armenians. And think about doing that work could mean that we'll get we'll be helping start the career of the next learner, Ekmechiglu, Taner Akçam, who's somewhere around, and there he is, okay, my buddy, which I tried to see him last night at the reception. There were so many people I could never get over to him, but I'll see you later, Taner. We are right now doing a strategic plan for NAASR's next era. Beyond such things as a summer university program and maybe even a high school equivalent, which would be great in its own right, we are talking about such things as AI, not retreating out of the fear that is gripping much of academia today, but thinking about all the possibilities that AI can mean for our operational expansion, given that NAASR is always understaffed, always has more projects that we would love to do if we just had the people and the time to do it. So let's think about the next period of NAASR. Let's see tonight not only as a celebration of the incredible, stunning achievements of the past 70 years, but of recognizing that foundation for what it's going to mean for the next 70 and even 700 years. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Mark Mamagonian is NAASR's Director of Academic Affairs, a prolific and truly indefatigable author and impresario in Armenian studies, and a master of the swift email reply. He is also a champion of Armenian American studies and of all of us scholars who work on the lives of Armenians, past and present. Above all, he is a genuinely kind person and a leader in our field. What more could we ask for? Welcome to the stage, Mark.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank each one of you individually for being here, and I have the list of names alphabetically, so get comfortable. So, there are pictures. Why did they do it? We might well pose this question to those who started NAASR 70 years ago. Why did Richard Fry, who had no vested interest in Armenian matters, prod and cajole the Armenian community into establishing permanent centers for Armenian studies? Why did he do it? Why did Manuk Young, Thomas Amirian, Ara Avakian, and the other founding members of NAASR take up this particular cause among the many others they might have taken up instead? We might ask ourselves the very same question. And in answering these questions, we would do well to remember the timeless words of Rabbi Hillel. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? A couple of weeks ago, I was invited to give a Zoom talk on the development of Armenian studies in the US to Dr. Shushan Karapetyan's colloquium in Armenian studies at USC. USC people, you can applaud now. Thank you. One of the students asked a question that more or less boiled down to this very question. Why did they do it? And to answer this, I go back to the foundational words of Richard Fry back in 1954, when effectively, though probably not consciously, he translated Rabbi Hillel's words into action items for the Armenian community. And I'm pressing the wrong button. There we go. Truly, it was a remarkable speech, and if I had all the time in the world, I would read it to you. But among other things, Fry stated that the Armenians have a long and rich heritage that is deserving of world recognition, yet this is unknown to most of the world. Armenian needs to be an established and respected discipline in the universities. He said that it is important that the Armenians realize that there is something valuable and important about their history, and that they have a special responsibility to foster and encourage scholarship, research, and studies on a permanent basis rather than on the haphazard or half-hearted basis on which it is being conducted at present. He declared that it is about time that the Armenian community responded much more than it has to this need. And he pointed out that this is not the time for Armenians, especially in this country, to resort to the sort of pragmatic consideration that demands a dollar and cents value from such an undertaking. The long-range view to humanity as a whole, as well as the Armenians in particular, must be taken. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. And I'm so grateful that tonight I am sitting next to Eden Nabi Fry, the wife of Richard Fry, which means a lot to me. So, Fry highlighted what was possible, indeed what was necessary. The NAASR founders responded, and they made what he suggested a reality. And they were able to succeed only because the community responded. They took the long view. When Manuk Young handed money that was donated from more than 3,000 donors to establish a chair at Harvard University, he knew what he was doing. He was investing in the future. If only we had a picture of this. That was 70 years ago this month when the chair campaign began, and the first 30,000 was handed over to Harvard, and everybody, I'm sure, who was there was very happy about it. And what was true in 1955 is no less true in 2025, perhaps even more so. It's no secret that there is a crisis, or plural crises, in American universities, especially in the humanities. If you don't believe me, just Google academic crisis in the humanities and settle in for a long read. This has been widely discussed for at least 25 years, probably longer. However, if you're unaware of the fact that since January 2025, American academia went from run-of-the-mill crisis to code-red emergency, then you haven't been following current events. Among the universities most affected by these developments are schools such as Harvard, Columbia, UCLA, and Michigan, where Armenian studies is most visible and active. What is happening is not about Armenian studies, but anything that negatively affects the university where there is an Armenian studies program affects Armenian studies. Thus, the wisdom of the NAASR founders taking the long-range view and investing in permanent chairs and programs. And not, of course, just the NAASR founders, but also all the others who worked to create the numerous other chairs and centers that exist today. So many that the print is very small. Without that permanency, do any of us doubt that Armenian studies would be on the chopping block today? But their wisdom can also be found in the creation of a permanent organization, that would be NAASR, that is independent, that works with universities but is not beholden to them. More and more scholars, whether in the US or in Armenia or elsewhere, look to NAASR for support, whether in the form of grants for research or sponsorship of a conference, as you've already heard, or to access the riches in our Mardigian library, so ably overseen by Ani Babayan, or through the many, many collaborative partnerships we have developed. We all need Armenian studies, and Armenian studies needs NAASR. And NAASR needs your support more than ever. Thank you for always responding when we have asked you for help. Thank you very much. Since I'm here, let me continue, but change the subject. I have the great privilege to say a few words about 6 remarkable individuals whom we are honoring tonight, and who each, in their own way, has most richly earned what we call on the program a tribute to excellence in service. That was the last slide. Now we make the transition. Dr. Ani Bakalian. I'd say hold your applause, but don't hold your applause. You should definitely applaud all of these people as much as you can. Dr. Ani Bakalian, for many years, was the Associate Director of the Middle East and Middle Eastern Center at the Graduate Center at the City University of New York. She is a distinguished scholar, teacher, and mentor to many younger scholars, and she is the author of, among other works, the groundbreaking study, Armenian Americans, From Being to Feeling Armenian. Unfortunately, Ani is unable to be here tonight with us, but please do show your respect and appreciation for Dr. Ani Bakalian. Dr. Kevork Bardakjian is the Marie Manukyan Professor, Emeritus, of Armenian Language and Literature and the former Director of the Armenian Studies Program at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. He also founded, directed, and taught at the University of Michigan Summer Armenian Institute in Yerevan, and likewise mentored several generations of scholars. He served several times as the president of the Society for Armenian Studies and for many years on NAASR's Academic Advisory Committee. Unfortunately, Kevork is in Armenia right now doing research at the Matanadaran, but please do applaud for Kevork Bardakjian. That top picture was at NAASR's 50th anniversary, by the way, and please hold your comments on the passage of time. David Kherdyan is one of the leading Armenian American writers, and for 60 years or more has engaged in a courageous, personal, but accessible journey of exploration through his poetry, memoirs, translations, and children's books, including, to name really only a few, Homage to Adana, The Road from Home, and Letters to My Father, collaborations with his late wife, the artist and writer Nani Hogrogian, as well as the anthology Forgotten Bread, First Generation Armenian American Writers. Unfortunately, David, we hoped would be here tonight, was unable to come, but he wants everyone to know that he is still writing and doing his best work ever in his 90s. Dr. Robert Myrak was a scholar, businessman, community leader, and philanthropist. While a doctoral student at Harvard in the 1960s, NAASR's founding chairman Manuk S. Young suggested that Bob write his dissertation on the early history of the Armenian American community, which was later published as the book Torn Between Two Lands, Armenians in America, 1890 to World War I, which remains a definitive and groundbreaking work. Bob's father, John, was a NAASR founding member, and Bob first joined NAASR as a student in 1959, and last year we recognized him for his 65 years of continuous membership in NAASR. As you probably know, Bob passed away on July 17th. We truly wish he were here with us tonight. But we're grateful to his daughter, Julia Myrak-Q, for being here, and we ask that she stand and be recognized. Thank you. Ruth Tomasian is the founder of Project Save Armenian Photograph Archives, established in 1975 and based in Watertown. Ruth is a photo archivist and social historian who had the vision to begin the incredible work of preserving what is today a collection of more than 100,000 original photographs and ephemera spanning the Armenian diaspora worldwide. And she did this at a time when precious few, if indeed any others, saw the historical or aesthetic value in this material. More than any other individual, Ruth has shown us that the visual documents of our community have dignity and value. And if a picture is worth 1,000 words, well, do the math for yourselves. Ruth, please stand and be recognized. And Project Save turns 50 this year, another pretty impressive anniversary. Dr. Khachig Tololian is one of the founders of the field of diaspora studies and the founding editor of the award-winning journal Diaspora, a journal of transnational studies which he started in 1991. He has been interested throughout his career in the mobility of populations and cultures, asking questions about how the increasing level of migration and dispersion brings new populations to the West, how these dispersions become ethnic and diasporic, and how these in turn reshape the literature, culture, and politics of the nations or states that host them. If asked, he will tell you he is not an Armenologist, which may in the strict sense be true, but his work is of immense value for anyone involved in Armenian studies. Khachig, please stand and be recognized. And lastly, deviating from the alphabetical order, Sandra Jirigian was NAASR's administrative director and served the organization with extraordinary distinction and devotion in multiple capacities. Sandra was not a scholar nor a published author and was not the founder of an organization or a field of study. But for more than 50 years, she was instrumental to NAASR and thus to Armenian studies. She served NAASR during some of its peak years, through some leaner years, and well into its 21st century revitalization. For many, if not most of those years, she was the only full-time employee. Whatever task she was presented with, she pulled it off with skill. It is zero exaggeration to say that without Sandra, there are reasons to doubt whether NAASR would have been able to survive through some of those years. She was also an unparalleled proofreader, and I am certain she would have caught the typo on tonight's schedule. I say no more. Sandra's intelligence, graciousness, energetic persistence, and utterly selfless work was driven by her deep dedication to the mission of NAASR. I wish she could be here tonight, but she could not be. But please recognize Sandra Jirigian. NAASR has a beautiful hand-painted manuscript on permanent display in our building, which we call the illuminators of the future of Armenian studies. The names of Ani Bakalyan, Kevork Bardakjian, David Kherdian, Robert Myrak, Ruth Tamasian, and Khachig Tololian will be added to that manuscript. And also, in the very near future, an area of NAASR's Vartan Gregorian building will be dedicated to Sandra Jirigian. We hope you can all be there for that, although I don't know where we'll put you all. But we look forward to the occasion. Please, once again, show your appreciation for these people who have contributed so much to NAASR and to the Armenian community. That's all I've got. Thank you so much.
All right, so I promise we'll get to our dinners soon. But I really did just want to say before the next section of the program, I cannot overstate how important and integral the scholars that we are honoring and the other scholars in the room have been to my making sense of myself, and certainly making sense of my scholarship and having the possibility of doing the kind of work on Armenian diasporas that frankly makes my career so exciting and so meaningful. So again, really, thank you everyone again here. And so now, we would like to recognize some important groups among us tonight, knowing that many may be in more than one group. So we're going to go through a list and ask one by one the groups to stand up, please.
NAASR is a family, and we would like to acknowledge anyone related to a founder to stand up so we don't miss anybody, since we know many of our founders have passed on. Could family members of any NAASR founders please stand and be recognized?
Could all past NAASR board members present please stand and be recognized? Although Mark did not go through a list of names, I have been given the task of going through a list of many names. So I'm going to name the people currently on the board and recognize those here today. If you could kindly stand. So from the Executive Committee, Treasurer Brian Atzbigian, Secretary Gerard Balayan, Mark Momjan, Nancy Kalijan, Sharon Chakijan, Vice Chair Henry Terrio, and Chair Ara Araz. Please stand. And before you sit down, could I also ask those joining us from across the country, both near and far, to stand? And those are Dr. Mary Papazian, Jerry Papazian, Ani Hovanisian Kevorkian, Girar Christianian, Dr. Khachig Moradian, Nancy Krikorian, Joan Kalijan, Huri Boyumian, Susan Barba, Stephen Kirkjan, Ara Arakelian, and Armine Mirzabegyan.
We would also like to recognize the team at NAASR: Mark Mamagonian, Annie Babayan, Genocide Education Specialist Pauline Getsoyan and Sarah Cohen, Miles Mamagonian, and Huri Yusufyan. Please stand.
And now, could anyone who has ever given a talk at NAASR please stand and be recognized, including participants in the Pamela and Edward Avedisian Graduate Student Symposium that took place Thursday and Friday. Please stand.
And could anyone who has been a recipient of a NAASR or Knights of Vartan grant please stand and be recognized? And could we also ask that the Tavitian scholars please stand?
There's one more business. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So before we move on to dinner, I've been asked that we take a photograph. So for those of you who, oh, just kidding, change in the program, that typo was not caught. Yeah, I guess we. Okay, so for now, please note that during dinner, we're going to have a slideshow spanning NAASR's 70 years. So dig in, we'll be back later. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now I'm here to introduce our keynote speaker. We are all very fortunate to have with us tonight as our featured speaker an extraordinary, talented, brilliant, and accomplished individual, Dr. Anthony Marks. We urge you to read his extensive and impressive biography in the Gala book. Dr. Marks previously served as president of Amherst College from 2003 to 2011, and he is also a distinguished scholar and the author of the acclaimed studies Lessons of Struggle, South African Internal Opposition, 1960 to 1990, Making Race and Nation, a comparison of South Africa, the United States, and Brazil, and Faith in Nation, Exclusionary Origins of Nationalism. He is now president of the New York Public Library, the nation's largest library system and the most used research library in the world. And indeed, Vartan Gregorian was a featured speaker at NAASR's 65th anniversary gala, for whom NAASR's headquarters building is named. Of note, opening today at the New York Public Library is a landmark exhibit on Middle Eastern and North African immigration to New York City, where you will find many pieces of Armenian American history. And if you're not sick of my voice, you can also hear me on the audio guide for exhibit number 1. So now please welcome our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Anthony Marks.
Well, thank you, Nora, for that too kind introduction. It's an honor to be here tonight with you all, and huge congratulations to all tonight's honorees. I want to thank Ara in particular for the kind invitation to be here tonight, and to start by simply saying, not singing, happy 70th birthday to the National Association for Armenian Studies and Research. Happy birthday. For all this time, NAASR has been the leader in creating and nourishing Armenian studies in the United States and beyond. Of course, the first professorship of Armenian studies in the US at a small university nearby on the Charles you may have heard of, and so many since then. With your important holdings, your fellowships, your programs, you've created an important field of scholarship. With your preservation of history, your sharing of memories, you have been the repository of the accumulated knowledge in the US and beyond of Armenia and all Armenians. But you have created not just a scholarly field, but also shaped and built the pride and culture and identity of all Armenians and all of us touched by the Armenian story. It is such a powerful and positive story, a story of a noble and wise and enduring people. But it is also a story of remembering tragedy that has been, shockingly, denied. We all know that identity and culture are perhaps too often shaped by tragedy, by exclusion, and even by genocide. That is still true so sadly and tragically today, and not just for Armenians. As a young scholar myself, I was transfixed by another story in another part of the world, South Africa. There, the apartheid state denied all rights to the majority of its people. Their African identity was forged, bonded by the exclusion of apartheid. Tragic indeed, but it also brought those people inspiringly together in opposition, in culture, in art. And as an American, I came to also see and study a similar pattern here at home, where white racism helped to bond American identity, especially after the Civil War. Terribly, where slavery and Jim Crow also forged a vibrant African American identity. It is part of the human experience, whether it be for majority or minority, that the positive celebration of culture and tradition mix with the collective tragedies to make us who we are, who we see ourselves as being, and become part of the great human story. Preservation and association with that history forge our identities, makes us who we proudly are, makes us human. That work is essential. It is the work of NAASR, and it is the work of all libraries and all who support this organization and the libraries around the world. I am, as you've heard, honored to serve as the president of one of the world's greatest, perhaps the greatest, public library. The New York Public Library is the biggest in the United States. It is the most used research library on the planet. It is the most trusted and visited civic institution in New York City that I call home. We and you here at NAASR connect the public to their history, to our history. You preserve materials as we do and ensure access to that history. And that is now more important than it has ever been in these remarkably challenging times. As the son of German Jews who had to flee their homeland, it is unthinkable to me, and yet here we are, to be seeing again censorship, book banning, intolerance rising in our homeland. A denial of people's history is always the first step towards a denial of people's existence, and we know what that can bring. In the days we live in, truth has become uncertain, questioned, its mere existence challenged. Misinformation is spread, even by the latest technology. What you do at NAASR, what we do, becomes more essential every day as an antidote to those trends. People, all people, still hunger for, need a place where they can gather, experts they can trust, reliable information that can inform them. All of that must be celebrated and nurtured, not denied or crushed. I confess I come tonight in honor of Vartan Gregorian. He understood all of that, and he championed all of that. Forged out of a life of challenges early on, he became first a great scholar and an amazing teacher, and then a leader and builder of institutions to serve everyone. I was so lucky to meet him when I was 21 years old for the first time. He walked me across the campus of the University of Pennsylvania, where he had been provost, beloved provost. And I swear to God, this is a campus of roughly 20,000 students. He knew every student's name. I have never seen anything like it. It was incredibly intimidating. He was truly a phenomenon. And I'm blessed to say he became a lifelong friend, and if I can say, a mentor. For most of the 1980s, he saved the New York Public Library. In a single-handed way, or so it seemed, that I had never seen any other person ever do at any institution. I remember my parents telling me, look at this. We didn't know, had no connection to the library or Vartan other than I used the library, but it was so unusual, so unique, so powerful. He fought budget cuts. That sounds familiar. He found allies and donors at the very top of New York society. He made the library the thing in a culture and a city that was starting to forget its foundational institution. He rebuilt buildings, collections, and an amazing staff, and he set the standard for my job. During the years we were together in New York, he was at Carnegie by this time, we met monthly, and it was worth its weight in gold. His personal collections remain a central part of ours, and I'm so proud now that we have the Vartan Gregorian Center, literally in the centerpiece of the most used research library building on the planet. And I know this audience doesn't, but if you think that libraries are done, that what we all do here is done, 13 million annual visits just to the research library alone. Vartan Gregorian is, of course, memorialized by your amazing building in Belmont. And he is memorialized by all of our buildings. Our work to make collections and learning and community possible continues to build on his efforts, and I am guided by them. We are guided by them every day, whether it's in the branches, in the poorest neighborhoods, whether it's in that research library, whether it's in our programs, or now, like you, pursuing these efforts digitally so that the world, the whole globe, can enjoy what we have and learn from what we have. Much like at the New York Public Library over the last 130 years, this has been the work of NAASR and the work that will continue for the next 70, 130 years. It says something that we are gathered here in these hard days, in these days of challenges, to recommit ourselves, to celebrate Vartan's legacy, to celebrate and support NAASR's work so that it can be ongoing, to ensure that our children live in a world that is shaped and inspired by his vision, by all of your and our work. It is a distinct honor to be part of this celebration with you all tonight, and I wish us all Godspeed for the work ahead. Azvadz Hedernit. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marks, for those Both sobering and incredibly necessary words in this difficult moment in the world. Now I would like to introduce Nancy Collegian. This gala celebration is privileged to have as its honorary chairs two people who have made a profound impact on NAASR through their dedication, hard work, and generosity. No one could be better qualified to present our two distinguished honorary chairs than Nancy Collegian, who likewise has dedicated herself with singular commitment to NAASR. As NAASR's second board chair from 2001 to 2010, she oversaw the transition of the organization into the modern era and the expansion of its activities. And now, Nancy is currently NAASR's longest-serving member of the board of directors, having joined the board in 1986. Please welcome Nancy Collegian.
Good evening, everyone. It is really a pleasure to see so many people in the here at the Copley Plaza. I actually am overwhelmed, and it gives me great privilege to be here with you. Just a quick few seconds before I make my presentation. But those of you who may not know me know that I was asked 3 years after I became a member of NAASR, because I wanted to learn more about Armenian history. I received a phone call from the then Manug Young, who was he was part of the triumvirate, Manug, Tom Amirian, and Ara Avakian, who were the founding members of NAASR, and with the board. And I know you'll read about it in your booklets, but he called me, he said, Nancy, it's been 3 years since you've been a member. Those of you who remember Manug will remember how he talked. He said, your great-uncle, J. Mark Collegian, was a founding member. I think it's time for you to join the board. It was very difficult to refuse Manug, and so here I am today. But it is a pleasure. Thank you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't something I believe in. Many of you have Armenian heritage, and it's so important for us to keep it alive. And I will just say one thing. We have wonderful scholars, we've given out grants, and I want to appeal to the young scholars who were here this weekend, who are here with us today, because you are the future. Please remember that and do all that you can to perpetuate Armenian studies in whatever institution or college or university that you are involved with, because that is so important. We're such a small community, but we're strong. So I appeal to all of you that are here today. So thank you for indulging me. It is an honor as well as a privilege to say a few words about the two remarkable individuals who are the honorary chairs of NAASR's 70th anniversary, Pamela Wood Avadesian and Yervan Chakijan. I urge you to read their bios in the Gala booklet, which give you some indication of their many impressive accomplishments in their lives and careers, although of course there's much more that can be said about them. There are individuals and families whose extraordinary efforts and generosity have fueled NAASR's work from its earliest times until today. And we honor all of those whose hard work and generosity have allowed us to do our work to advance Armenian studies. But our two honorary chairs occupy a very special place. Nearly a decade ago, when NAASR, under Yervan Chakijan's chairmanship, embarked on major fundraising to build a new headquarters, it became clear that this would be the organization's biggest undertaking since the campaign to establish Armenian chairs at Harvard and UCLA in the 1950s and 60s. Many of you gave generously at that time, but Pamela and Ed Avedian's major gift as lead donors made possible the fulfillment of the vision for a new, modern, and beautiful building that has become a source of pride for not only NAASR, but for the entire Armenian community and beyond the Armenian community. Pam and Ed were a team. Like Ed, who was an accomplished concert clarinetist, Pam is a trained concert pianist, and perhaps that is why their partnership was so harmonious. Out of genuine humility, the building was not named for them, but for Vartan Grigorian as a gesture of respect. Those of you who are aware of Pam and Ed's remarkable philanthropic efforts will know that this modesty is part and parcel of who they are. Thank you, Pam, for your amazing dedication and support. On a personal level, I knew Ed and I adored him, and I got to know Pam. She has great humanity, she's kind, she's modest, she's strong, and she's a good person all around, and she understands what it takes to make things happen. And for that, we're grateful. Thank you, Pam. Having served as NAASR's chairman myself, I know only too well the challenges that go with that position, with the necessity of leading an organization with a rich history that needs continuity to move forward, grow, evolve, and meet the challenges of the 21st century. Each of NAASR's chairpersons has contributed to this process, but Yervant Chikhijan's visionary contributions during his chairmanship from 2016 to 2022 mark a very special epoch in NAASR's 70-year history. Yervant has deep roots in NAASR. He has been a member since 1963 and served on the board for nearly a quarter century. Even before he was chairman, as a board member, Yervant spearheaded creating NAASR's Leadership Circle, which has been so important to the organization. And those of you who do not know what that is, I will make a pitch. Please inquire about it because it helps to support the many projects that NAASR does. So please keep that in mind. As chairman, he led the ambitious and successful campaign to design and construct NAASR's new headquarters, the Vartan Grigorian building. And when I say he led the campaign, I mean that he threw himself into it with remarkable determination and skill. And through sheer force of will, he drove it to reach its goal. Yervant, thank you for all that you have done for NAASR. And I will tell you a little anecdote about Yervant during that period of time. He used to say, you know, Nancy, Oakley Country Club has become my office away from home. I said, oh, what does that mean, Yervant? I knew what he meant. He said, well, you know, I meet with people at lunchtime or at dinner time, and I encourage them to support NAASR as we embark upon this project to build a new to support a new building. And I thought, you know, Yervant, that's pretty good. I like that. Anyway, I would like to invite both Pam and Yervant to come to the lectern and please show them our appreciation.
I don't need to tell any of you what an extraordinary person Ed was, about his remarkable vision or his extreme generosity. When it became clear that constructing a new building was the best option, Ed once again stepped up to the plate in the hope that it would encourage others to do the same. I have tried to continue supporting those organizations that were important to Ed, as NAASR certainly was. Our support of NAASR is something Ed's mother, Shushanig, would expect of us, and is why we have named the scholarship fund after her and her husband, Choren. The legacy of education is vital to our existence. This is truly an important milestone for NAASR. Now more than ever, it is important for us to portray Armenia's rich history to the world, to educate others unaware of what the Armenian people have contributed throughout the centuries, and to hopefully counter any false narratives being presented by others. I hope this special anniversary serves to further enrich and preserve our Armenian history, culture, and identity for generations to come. Thank you.
I share these honors with all the individuals that I work with at NAASR, at the board and with the staff. I thank them very much for bringing success, and they deserve the honors with me. Thank you. When I retired, I asked the next generation to build on the accomplishments of the past generations, including mine. And today, I'm very pleased that today's board is a very accomplished board, has tremendous wealth of knowledge, and that they will do just exactly that. Thank you very much, and I ask for your continued support towards the mission of NAASR. Please enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you again so much. So it is a well-known best practice that you cannot say thank you too often. So as we conclude the program tonight, we want to thank all of our speakers, in particular Dr. Anthony Marks for his keynote, our honorary chairs, Pamela Avedisian and Yervan Chakidjan, Dr. Sharon Chakidjan, Margaret Mergrublian, and the other Gala organizing committee, and the NAASR staff and volunteers. And all of you here tonight, especially those of you who have given so generously as sponsors, making it possible for so many students to be with us and thereby grow the NAASR family and the future of Armenian studies.
NAASR has played a truly foundational role in the growth of Armenian studies over the past 70 years. And as the graduate conference this week showed us, it is clear that the field is continuing to grow in exciting new ways. NAASR and all of you here are building the future of Armenian studies now, and we encourage you to be a part of NAASR, since together we will write the next chapter of Armenian studies and Armenian history.
So first, 2 orders of business. Now the photo threatened before is happening. If you don't mind looking up there, the photographer is up on the mezzanine. So back in like the old school style of Armenian galas, do your worst. Thank you. One other order of business, please check, because someone has lost a valet ticket. I don't know what the vehicle is, or I would take it myself, but I am not sure whose it is. So if you check your pocketbooks, wallets, if you're missing a car, it's over there. Okay, but again, I know we've gone long, but with that in mind, we don't want to end the evening. We want to encourage all of you to stay for the after party, directly up the stairs, back where we had the cocktail reception. So the party will continue in the foyer with an anniversary cake, the opportunity to sip some cognac, and entertainment from La Vie en Rose. We would also like to thank Faith Cass for these lovely arrangements. So please figure out at your table, thank you. So please figure out among your table who would like to take the flower arrangement home. So with that, our program has concluded, but we ask that all the honorees, honorary co-chairs, and board leadership stay for a photo. The rest of you, I will see you in the foyer for a drink. Have a good night.